Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Friday Masterclass, where today, with all the talk about AI going around, and of course we've been showing a lot of stuff on the Adobe Live channel, I thought this would be a cool opportunity to really just showcase and highlight the AI that exists in Premiere Pro today. And we've covered we've covered all of them over time. This will be sort of one condensed stream where we can kind of cover all of the AI-driven or AI-assisted workflows that you currently have access to in Premiere Pro. And there are quite a few of them, with everything from the most recently released text-based editing process to a classic which keeps kind of coming back up again as I look in the Reddits, something called Remix, which is really an AI-based way to do your music editing, basically by dragging and dropping, super easy, to other things like scene edit detection, auto color, color match, the clarity slider, which I've covered at length via the Essential Sound panel. So I may not get a chance to demo all of these today or to really work through all of them, but I just want to highlight them so that you know where they are, know how to access them. And then if we don't get to them in the next 56 minutes or so, we can revisit them another time, or I can point you to another stream where we covered those extensively. So as always, we're coming to you live across YouTube, Behance, Twitter, and the LinkedIns. So thank you so much for joining. A couple of quick shouts before we get started. Fred Roland, very nice to see you. Philip Flores, PTFW, WDB, nice to see you. Shlomi, how's it going? Sam Peterson, Mostafa, Paloma, Reverb Mike, Oliver Andrews, Umacorn, Gino Marbella, great to see you all. Vicky J, how's it going? Thank you so much. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started? And let's start talking about Premiere. Before I do that, though, so this is a totally off-topic story, but sharing a little bit with you on Friday. So my sons have recently been getting into jazz, and primarily the jazz that I really like. I didn't tell them which jazz to like. They just sort of started going through my my vinyl collection and pulled up all kinds of things, late 50s, early 60s, cool jazz, Chet Baker, Miles Davis, Oscar Peterson, Stan Getz, again, a lot of the things that I like, and even some other things like Herb Alpert and Sergio Mendes. And my teenager came across a track that he had already heard via Sergio Mendes in Brazil 66, Mas Que Nada, and he goes, "Oh, Dad, you gotta hear this." And it was, and I've heard it before. It's probably 10 years old or more. It was the Black Eyed Peas version of that song. Does anybody know that? If you're in the chat, do you remember that? Yes, Coltrane as well. Yes, Mingus as well, because you know I'm a bass player. So who remembers the Black Eyed Peas version of this classic Sergio Mendes Brazil 66? Well, you might not remember it. I love Herb Alpert too. What's up, Andrew Kavanaugh? You may not remember it. But I'm hearing this in the car, and I'm listening to this, and I'm going, what? No. And what's wrong with it? I'll tell you what's wrong with it. The groove is so stiff and stuck because it's programmed. It's not played. So in that moment, I'm like, nope, I can't, no. You can't do samba and bossa nova programmed. Yes, you can humanize, and you can do all those things. No. Ugh. Barf. So I'm like, please, immediately change, go to Sergio Mendes, and we put the original on, and I'm just like, and just listen to the kick drum, and all the dynamics. I'm like, no, that's it. That is the way. Rant over. Anyway, okay, so Umacorn, yes. Do you know that track? Okay. Oh, I just screwed something up on my comments here. Also, by the way, I might throw the iPad. I'm done with this iPad. I'm done. This thing is just old, and I'm sick of it. So I may toss that across the room. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started with text-based editing. Oh, and actually here, sorry, before I even do that, I'm all over the place today. Edgy, as you may have guessed. So this is what we're going to be talking about, and these are all the various things that we have. Why is this always a problem for me? I don't know. Text-based editing, remix, color match, auto color, auto reframe, auto ducking, scene edit detection, and the clarity slider. And as mentioned, all of these use AI-driven or AI-assisted workflows. And you already have access to all of these, and they're all great. And in many ways, they all save a lot of time. They all kind of get you most of the way there. You still have manual editability in terms of, say, the keyframing that auto ducking does. You can still do all of this. Remix, again, same kind of thing. You have different options. You have more options on the Audition side. Text-based editing, of course, clarity slider. You still can go into the effect and make manual corrections if need be. But it really just, it takes a lot of the pain away if you're just trying to achieve some of these specific kind of things a little bit more quickly. It's a great use of those features. So we're going to, some of this is repetition. Also worth pointing out that the Premiere 23.4 release is out. So if you haven't gotten the latest update that features text-based editing that we're looking at here, you can get that today. Otto, grumpy Tom Hanks. Hey, come on now. I'm not that old. Sheesh. That's some harsh stuff, Reverb Mike. Thought you were a fan. Gino, that was the argument I had with my wife. The original is so much better. Thank you. Oliver Andrews, tell us how you really feel, Jason. You've watched before. That's one of my favorite lines ever. Okay. Mustafa, too young to remember. So good. All right. You're all making me smile despite my grumpiness. Okay. So text-based editing, how does it work? Well, again, maybe you've seen it already. The key is that you bring video now into Premiere Pro. And by the way, you can do this via the import will now allow you to transcribe directly on import. This all works within the text panel. So if you've not accessed the text panel before, this is where you'll find the transcription and captioning functions. Again, you can find that here in the window menu. And once you do that, it's going to go through and transcribe. We now support 17 languages for transcription. I realize there are more languages. Just want to point out that when we introduced transcription, not text-based editing, but transcription itself, a mere 2.5 years ago, I think we only had six or eight languages. So we've more than doubled in the last, 2 years or so. We're adding more and more. That's the idea. People enjoy this feature. It's really good. The transcription is really good. It's getting better and better. It's using AI for that as well. It's great. So once it does that, now what you're going to have is this transcript that you can see here. And what you'll notice is we also have the ability to, of course, identify different speakers. So this is me interviewing, again, you've seen him on the stream before, Fuzzy Island. And if we just start here and maybe play a little bit of this back. You can take your time. There's no rush with the answers. So,
okay.
All right. And then you see like when he talks here.
Am I not supposed to look into the camera though? Because it makes your eyes funny.
Right. So speaker 1, speaker 2. Okay. So it identifies where each of us is talking. I'd say 95%. And this is me, again, probably 10 feet back. Or more in kind of an echoey environment off mic. So it does a pretty good job. So one of the first things that I like to do in here is just edit speaker name. So speaker 1 is obviously me. So I'll come in here and this will be Jason, interviewer. And this is, or just interviewer and save. Okay. And then this just makes kind of finding your content a little bit easier. Now, Fuzzy, and actually, again, as I've been asking people online, well, how's this working for you? I said, oh yeah, it's really great, or it's really good. I mean, basically a lot of praise for this. I have had a few people already say that it does, again, usually about 90-95% really, really well. Sometimes, though, perhaps with certain accents, and this is American English or anything, it doesn't matter, it gets a little tripped up. And case in point, and this is kind of in the style of the way Fuzzy speaks, he says, not my name is Fuzzy Island, like I ask him, so what is your name and what do you do?
What is your name and what do you do?
Name's Fuzzy Island.
He says, name's Fuzzy Island, like as my name is, but name's Fuzzy Island. And this transcribed it as names for the island. Okay, we have to make a correction there. So I point this out because it may not get everything. That's the reality. But overall, as we go through, you're going to see it's actually very, very, very impressive. That just happens to be... I did this raw, first try right before the stream today just to see for you all, and you can see how it is. Gino's asking, how much does this extra stress the computer CPU overall? Not a lot. And quite frankly, now that it's doing it on device versus in the cloud, I guess it depends. Look, I should say it depends on your system, but not a huge amount of CPU stress while it's doing the transcription, and you can do other things in Premiere while it's doing that. So it doesn't lock you out of doing other things in Premiere when you apply it. What's up, Cody Bear? Okay, so skipping ahead here, the idea is that if we want to assemble and edit, we can now do that really quickly inside of the editor here. So for instance, I can just start by selecting this section here where he intros himself, and then I can either hit the comma key or insert into this fuzzy edit sequence, and it edits that part in, okay? And then maybe we can cut to something else, where I'm asking, oh, and so Fuzzy, you got an account on Behance? Let's see.
I've got an account on Behance. Got some photography up there. What do you think about the idea of like Behance as like a creative community, an online community?
I think it's very cool. The one thing I miss about my younger days when I was living in Tennessee and folks didn't have money, but everybody seemed to live in a house with a porch, is you could just go around and find folks.
Okay, so maybe I want to cut to this part here. The one cool thing I miss about my younger days. We can go ahead and insert that. All right, and we can start building up this this timeline. So let's see. He's talking about inspiration. And again, maybe I would insert some of these things. Let's see what this sounds like here.
Inspiration is a feeling?
Yeah, a phrase will start kicking around. The other day I was walking to the gym and I had my headphones on and listening to Pandora.
And by the way, again, as I'm, going through this the other day, I was walking to the gym and I had my headphones on, listening to Pandora. I think, and here he gets this proper name wrong here.
I think it was Bix Beiderbecke coming on.
It's Vic Spiderbeck, but it got Bix Beiderbecke. It's very specific naming, but not bad, Doing Muskrat Rumble though, it got that.
Yeah, Muskrat Ramble.
Muskrat Ramble, sorry.
And I'm old enough now that I don't get embarrassed that easily.
Okay, so in any case, again, I can come over here. I can insert that, and you see down below it starts building my timeline, and maybe we find another little section here, and we'll do something like this. I'm just trying to add stuff to my timeline. Okay, now one of the things that I want to point out, as I showed before, that I love about this feature is that it also detects silence and the classic sounds. And you'll see that indicated here by these little ellipses that are in the transcript. And it'll tell you the duration of each of those. You can see this one here, 1.9 seconds, 0.9 seconds, 1.1 seconds, 2.6 seconds. And if we listen to that, let me play it back from this section here.
About stuff that you cared about, and this site sort of does that.
So this little section right here might be a cool opportunity to get rid of that long pause, and obviously there would be a jump cut there, so we would either obscure it with some B-roll. The idea is that it detects all of that, and you'll see in a moment that it makes it very easy for us to cut that out. Now you also have some very cool options here with the ability to edit your pauses. So if we go into, or rather edit the pause length. So if we go into set pause length here, the default is 0.75 seconds. So if you don't want it to detect anything that's, smaller than that, right, you can adjust. And you'll see that as I adjust this dynamically, so let's say I don't detect anything that's under 2 seconds, a lot of those little things, they go away. You can see the text shifting in the panel there. It just depends, right? Some people, there's a lot of quick pauses. Some people, it's a little more labored. So the default 0.75 is pretty good. I'm usually using it now. I found with most interviews, somewhere between 0.75 and 0.5 tends to work really, really well. Now, the other major thing that I want to get into right here is that once we have our edit, so now we're actually in our little timeline right here, okay? And you can see the edits, and let's play this back and just kind of see how this sounds.
Storyteller, guitar player, singer-songwriter, I suppose. Yeah. The one thing I miss about my younger days when I was living in Tennessee and folks didn't have money.
Okay, we can cut to here.
This site sort of does that. The other day I was walking to the gym and
Okay.
embarrassed that easily. I went to hear a friend of mine play a while ago.
Okay. So again, you get the idea. Now, those cuts are pretty tight. We can, of course, you still have all the same tools. So if we want to slip, slide, or ripple, or do anything, we can do all of that. It doesn't change the way you edit. But more importantly, it allows us to do a number of things. So one, as I mentioned, if there were a pause in the middle of something, like let's listen here.
Listen to Pandora, and I think it was big.
So maybe we want to get rid of this little section. So you'll notice if I select that ellipsis right there, it actually creates an in and out point on my timeline. And I can cut, extract, or delete ripple. And it does an actual ripple edit right there.
Listen to Pandora, and I think it was Big Spiderbeck coming on doing.
So that's a really nice clean edit. Now, again, visually, it's going to be a little bit of a jump.
Listen to Pandora, and I think it was Big Spiderbeck coming on.
But sonically, really nice, really clean edit. Super cool. You get the idea. The other thing about this, of course, is that this also allows you, now this won't make sense necessarily in this context, but we can say cut, and then maybe I want to put this section here. I want to paste this up here. Paste it in, and I can reorder my edits via script. So now he goes from
singer-songwriter, I suppose. Yeah. I went to hear a friend of mine play a while ago.
Again, I can get rid of that little jump pause there, but you get the idea. So you can reorganize just as if you were reordering text in a text document. Someone mentioned the other day Descript. Think of it, this is a little more, in a different way, a broader example of that, but you can do this really, really easily, really quickly. And then, of course, once you've done all of that, you have the ability to generate your captions. So I just like to show this, creating captions. You have all of your various captioning formats, your minimum length, duration, if you want single or double line captions. Let's do single. If you have a style built in, you can do that. I saw somebody ask on Reddit the other day, and this is true. This is one thing that I have noticed, is that sometimes it doesn't quite get the capitalizations right. And, the more that I look at captions, I think the best looking captions are frankly all caps anyway. I don't like when they're uppercase, lowercase, and as I've said many, many times on this stream, my thoughts. Our default of Minion Pro is just not it. So please, for the love of all things holy, change that to something else. I don't care what you change it to, just anything but that. I also don't love this very, very dark drop shadow. And you can even do sort of, faux all caps. I just think it looks better, and it's a little bit, it's a little bit easier to read. Of course, you can change position and all of that. All right, we can increase the size.
The one thing I miss about my younger days when I was living in Tennessee.
It just works really well. And then, of course, we can do the edits right here, names for the island, so we would just come in here and make those edits as need be. So that's text-based editing. That is a recent AI addition to the Canon, and we love this. It's a lot of fun. So let's go over to Remix, since I'm kind of working with Fuzzy, and I want to add some music. Let me just pop over to the chat real quick. Robbins Jones from Portland, what's up? Smash that like button. That's very kind of you. Joining from Costco this morning. Oh, that's cool. What's up, Tom Schreiber? PT, where else is this being streamed? You're watching on YouTube, it looks like. It's also on LinkedIn. It's also on Twitter. It's also on Behance. So yes, Ken Latman, now all of the transcription is done on device. That is correct. Initially when we released this, it was in the cloud. Now it's on device. And that was largely a request. Mike, anything but Helvetica. I mean, like I said, I'll take Helvetica over Minion Pro. Monotype Corsiva. Okay, yes. All caps are easier to read. Thank you, Cody. I agree. All right, very cool. So, all right, remix. So I'm going to grab, I have this. This is from one of the many sessions that Fuzzy and I recorded, and I'm going to grab this audio track and drag it down into my timeline. And obviously, the issue, of course, is that the audio is too long. It's probably also way too loud. So in fact, we're going to knock out two features in one here. Just go back to my little list. So we're going to do remix, but we're also going to do auto ducking. And maybe we can even cover clarity slider and all this. Theoretically, it all makes sense. Yeah, so maybe we'll do that. We'll get a three for one deal in aisle 5. Okay. So first of all, let me go ahead and open up the Essential Sound panel. And I'm going to take you through this process. So just real quickly for those new, if you've not used Essential Sound, and again, now we're talking about 3 AI-based features that are all contained here. One of the ways that this works, now Remix can actually be independent of that. And just real quickly, my brain is, we're firing on all cylinders today. If you simply wanted to edit this audio file to fit the duration of the video, you can do this manually, of course, but if you're not super comfortable with doing that, maybe it's not your thing, or you just want an easier, faster way. You don't want to just cut it off and fade out. Then you can use Remix. Now, you don't have to do Remix via Essential Sound as I'm showing here. You can actually right-click, Control-click, and enable Remix. And what that does, it does two things, and this is why I'm going to take you through it manually as well, is that it tags this file as music. The reason for that being is that in Essential Sound, the way that it works and the way that it speeds up sort of your audio mixing workflow is that it basically allows you to identify audio in your edits as 4 different distinct types: dialogue, music, sound effects, or ambience. And then once you tag your media as such, it then gives you a series of effects or filters or processes that would be common for working with that audio. So by doing it, right-click, remix, enable remix, it does that one step for you of already tagging this as music. So if I were to go to enable remix, you'll see that it switches over to Essential Sound. It's analyzing my clip as we speak, all right? So it's understanding sort of the structure. Now, this is, by the way, this is Fuzzy Plays sort of finger pick style 1930s Delta blues. No drums, no beat, no Black Eyed Peas, programmed bossa nova samba. Nope. It's just feeling time as humans do. So I use this as a live challenge because I don't know, maybe the edits are great, maybe they're not. Let's see how it does. I'm very real with you. Let me say this. On beat-based music, Remix, it kicks some big boo-tay. It's amazing. Super fast, super accurate, super great, and it'll just make your audio fit a duration real quickly. When you have classical or maybe things that are not necessarily to a specific pulse or, again, played by humans over time where things change, it can still be great. Again, if it's beat-based music as well, rock, other things, you just have to try it. And you do have a couple of different customization settings, specifically segments and variations that can sort of help and assist in making the algorithm work a little bit better for you. Now, the way that you do it, you can use the Remix tool, which is hidden here under the Ripple Edit tool right there. So I'm going to grab the Remix tool, and what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to grab the edge of my music, and I'm just going to snap it to the end of my video, all right? And what you'll see is that now, again, there's a little bit of a tail on the end here. That's because, as you can see, it's telling you that when you use Remix, your duration is going to be usually, plus or minus 5 seconds. And the reason for that is because we're not simply stretching to fit. It's trying to preserve beginning and end, and then basically cut all the stuff in the middle. So you may have a lead, and in this case, it actually gave us almost a 5-second tail. That's quite a bit long. So let me see if I snap it a little before. Okay, now it's, what do we got now? Now we got about a 3-second, 4-second tail. Yeah, so again, even just by modifying where I snap to the end, it's changing. And you can imagine you're fading to black, some credits, whatever. You can cover that up. You can keep playing with it. It'll give you different results all the time. And then you have the number of segments. So maybe we want to use fewer segments, fewer edits. And you'll notice that as I do that down here, it's showing you where those edit points are. And then we can focus more on melodic variation or harmonic. I've said it before. What? I don't know. I don't know what this slider thinks it's doing. How's that for you? No one's really been able to show me what that does. So, do what you want with it. It moves stuff around. I just don't understand. Melodic and harmonic? Are you trying to say it follows the melody versus harmonies on the melody? Or the harmonics? Or what? I don't know. A musician didn't name that slider. Let me put it that way, because that doesn't mean anything to me. So in any case, let's see how this edit sounds. And let me go into my track mixer here. Oh, is it already open? Maybe it's up here. Where is my track mixer? Which one are we in? Fuzzy edit. There we go. Let's place this over here. And we're on track 2. Just to kind of bring this down. What the what? Did you hear that? That was a great sound. You couldn't even hear the edit. So these little wiggly lines that you see, this represents the edit point. So now you're like, well, I don't know what it sounded like before. Doesn't matter. You hear no edit. It just edited it very seamlessly. Okay, now we're talking at the end. Yeah, between those two. Okay, so again, it would figure the song that I chose has us talking for 10 minutes at the end. That's immaterial. By the way, if you want to get rid of that so that it just stretches the music, you need to cut that out of the file before you do the remix. Not just trim it, cut it out, because otherwise it's going to try and trim against that. Okay. In any case, the edit sounds wonderful. But, of course, we have Fuzzy talking over top of this. So let me just put these both, I'm going to put both of these down to around -3. Obviously, the music is significantly louder.
And it's Fuzzy Island.
So it's completely overtaking his voice. So this is an opportunity where now we're going to get to leverage auto ducking, and we don't even have to leave the panel where we are right now, except that we actually need to tag the dialogue first. Well, technically we could do it against anything, but let me just show you. So once again, if we click away, you'll notice now it shows you that we have something tagged as music. We're going to select all the dialogue files and just tag those as dialogue. That's all we need to do. Let's go back to the music track here, and let's turn on ducking. And in last week's stream, you may recall that we did sidechain ducking. Why does my chat keep getting logged out? What is going on, Restream? Oh, why? How? What? All right. I'm sorry for anyone watching on LinkedIn, Twitter, or my chat. I can't see your comments anymore. Restream, why are you logging me out? What's happening? Very edgy today. Inside the ducking panel, so we talked about sidechain ducking last week in Audition, the manual way of setting up a compressor or limiter and then triggering it from a voice which automatically lowers the volume of music. This does all of that for you. So you don't have to set up a compressor. You don't have to do anything. It, using AI, knows what to do to automatically drop the volume level of music underneath dialogue. So you have three basic settings. Sensitivity. So this acts like your threshold. That's the point at which it detects the signal and then drops. So let's leave it at the default. Again, I think to keep it simple, it's sensitivity, low, high. It's a value of 6. 6 what? It's not really 6 dB. I don't know, but it's an arbitrary value. But the general sensitivity here, the default usually works pretty well. Duck amount, 18 decibels. Now that's way too quiet. That's gonna be way too much. So maybe we only duck it, let's do about half of that. Now that might still be too much. Now the music has already been mastered. It's very loud. You saw the waveform. But we're gonna add a little bit of compression clarity to the voiceover so that punches through even more. And then you have your fade durations. So this is, once he stops talking, how quickly the music comes back. And then when he starts talking again, how quickly it fades back down. So the default is 0.8 of a second. You're gonna have to time that just by listening. That might be a little bit long. Let's do about half a second. So 500 milliseconds here. And we'll see how that sounds. And then you have fade position, and you can see it adjusts the overlap against the ducking target. Again, this is a value from 0 to 10. I don't know, let's try like a 3 and click on generate keyframes. Ducking in Premiere needs to have an EQ change as well. I've heard some people say that too. Again, you can do that. That's if you were using a sidechain EQ. So I hear what you're saying. Yes, sidechain EQ would achieve that as well. So basically the same concept there. Now what you'll see is, but yes, I agree. We could benefit from having that. So when we now look at the waveform, and oddly enough, it seems to be fading up in certain places. Oh no, that's good. That's silence. Yes. All right. You can actually see the keyframes. Hold on, let me click away so you can see them better. That it's generated here. Okay, so it's down, music fades back up, it's down, music fades back up in the silence, it's down, fades back up in the silence. Okay, now these are really small durations. So let's see what this sounds like right now. Let's take a listen.
My name's Fuzzy Island, and I play music, I write music, write stories, tell stories.
Now you see, he's pausing a lot between everything. So this is an example where maybe that fade time is way longer because he's doing a lot of pausing in between talking. We don't want the music to fade back in, right? So we'll adjust that too. But one other thing that we can do, because he's speaking, the microphone's sort of below him, is just to add a little bit of clarity to his dialogue. So I'm gonna wind this back. And now let's select all of the dialogue, and we're going to go into dynamics. And we're going to now globally apply a compressor to his voice, which is essentially going to just push that voice forward so that it sits a little more comfortably on top of the music. Now, this is something that you would traditionally do with a compressor or limiter manually. You can still do it manually, but this is going to do it for you at the clip level. And it does it with a single slider. And as I said, this being it's a machine learning AI-based feature using Adobe Sensei, it does an amazing job of doing all of the settings to make that compressor sound right and clean and focused without some of the potential artifacts that you can often run into when using compression. So I'm gonna start playing this back and adjusting that slider to be more focused, as you can see here. And let's take a listen and see what that sounds like.
My name's Fuzzy Island, and I play music, I write stories, tell stories. I guess I'm just an old storyteller, guitar player, singer-songwriter, I suppose. Yeah. The one thing I miss about my younger days when I was living in Tennessee and folks didn't have money, but everybody seemed to live in a house with a porch, is you could just go around and find folks who did what you did.
Right? So much better. So now if we go back to the music here, let's make that fade duration. I mean, he's pausing for a really long time. Let's make that fade duration like 1100 milliseconds. And let's maybe duck it just a little bit more. Let's regenerate the keyframes. Okay? And you'll see now a lot of those where it was raising the music now, it's doing it here. This apparently is more than a second pause. All right? But it's eliminated a lot of the other ones there because it's constant talking. He's just pausing. And we don't want the music to fade back up then. We want to sort of stay in it. So now when we play this back.
Name's Fuzzy Island, and I play music, I write stories, tell stories. I guess I'm just an old storyteller, guitar player, singer-songwriter, I suppose. Yeah.
Pretty awesome, right? And as mentioned, you still have complete editability of these keyframes. So if you want to add more, you want to, again, make your own little dip. Maybe we don't want this right here. Maybe we want it, we can eliminate these keyframes, or we want it to, or whatever. You can still do all of that. Now, once you do that, you've now broken the AI-assisted keyframing. So if you're like, oh, okay, you know what? I want to make this whole thing a little quieter. Let me duck it 5 more dB and generate keyframes. Your manual changes will be gone. So it's sort of a get started with ducking and then tweak. And then that's kind of your final, right? If you reuse the AI, it'll overwrite your keyframes essentially, okay? All right. What's happening? I'm reading some of the chats here. And yes, by the way, you can Bezier the keyframes. I see Gino is asking that. So right now they're linear. You want to do Bezier, you can Bezier the keyframes. Ooh, sorry. All right. Let's do a continuous Bezier. So you can adjust the little handlies there. Okay. You can see it's a nice little smile mouth curve right there. Okay? Cool. All right, so that was a combo. What do we do? Remix, auto ducking, and clarity via dialogue, right? Which is dynamics. Now, one other thing before we move on, because we only got about 18 minutes. As I mentioned, just like you have the ability to edit those keyframes, you can also modify the compressor for each of the clips in question. So if you want to do that, those edits can be found via the effects panel, or rather effects controls, excuse me. So hold on, let me just put this in here. Oh, no, I want it to go here. There we go. So here we are inside the effects controls panel, and you'll notice that it has placed a dynamics processor on that clip. So if I wanted to modify the compression settings for this particular piece. Now again, this is secondary audio. It didn't need any sort of special treatment. It's all the same. So I probably wouldn't need to do this, but maybe you're doing some ADR or flying some other things in from other places or pickups or B-roll, whatever. You might need to make individual tweaks. Now you can still do individual tweaks. Remember, I selected all the dialogue and just used one slider one ring to control them all. You can also do them individually with the one slider, so change the amount of clarity that you're applying. But if you go into the edit button here, this also allows you to go into the independent level and gain detection settings, as well as you can also do frequency limited compression, which is sort of cool. That's more useful maybe musically, but sometimes you can use that for dialogue. This will also give you a real-time display of how much gain reduction it's using.
Name's Fuzzy Island, and I play music, I write stories, tell stories.
All right. And you also, as you can see here, as I adjust the slider, and I'm not zoomed in so you can't see how it's affecting ratio, it's dynamically adjusting settings as I make this change. So that's what the slider's doing. It's controlling all of those things. You can still come in here and adjust your own settings accordingly. All right. That's entirely up to you. But you still have that control, which is really cool and very, very useful. Okay. All right. Let's go to scene edit detection. Quick look at the chats. Let's see what we got here. Zafaria, how's it going? Okay. All right. This started to sound a little like an episode of Yellowstone. I would love for Fuzzy's music to get into Yellowstone. I agree. I think it would be great there. Can you keyframe the dynamics? Sure. I don't see why not. As in sort of adjust threshold levels or particular settings in Premiere? Yeah, well, good question. Let me see very quickly. Individual parameters? Yes, so there you go. So you can keyframe all of it. I don't recommend that. Put it this way, if you're having to keyframe changes to a compressor, you didn't set it right. You should be able to set the compressor so that it handles the Yes, I suppose there could be a moment where there's an extreme change in dynamic level, or extreme change in the dynamics as recorded originally. Fair enough. Maybe then you need to keyframe the threshold. But in general, I probably wouldn't keyframe a compressor. But yes, as you can see, all of the parameters can be keyframed, which is great. Okay, so scene edit detection. This is something that we introduced a couple of years ago. This is just one of those things where, you've got, let's say, you're trying to pull selects for a reel, or, you have a series of edits. And again, maybe you're trying to pull specific scenes, or you have a comp and you want to pull little sections out of it. This is like a little commercial that I did more than a decade ago. This is an early edit of it for the Nikon D4, D800 cameras when they reintroduced and kind of reimagined their whole video thing. And it has a whole bunch of cuts. So this is all from my tour of Sabi Sabi in South Africa. So the idea being like, oh, I know I've got some clips in here of like this lioness. I love this shot, and I got some beautiful baby elephant, and I've got some birds and whatever, all these other things, and leopard, and I'd love to be able to quickly cut each of those pieces and make selects from them. Now, to do that manually, yes, it's not a huge deal, but it does involve me going through and finding the exact start point, and then dropping in a cut. So we figured, well, this is another great use of AI to automatically see where those edits happened, detect them, and then create the cut for you. So if I take this edited video here and I right-click, control-click, and I choose, whoops, I don't know if you can see that, sorry, scene edit detection right here. It's going to pull up this little dialog that says, okay, apply a cut at each detected cut point. This is one of the greatest things. Create bin of the subclips from each detected cut point. Create a clip marker at each detected cut point. So actually, let's do all three. Analyze. Does its thing. Still analyzing. I see Esteban. Hey, what's up, Esteban? Question from YouTube. Okay, I'll be right there. Yeah, sorry. And again, my comments, I got logged out twice. I don't know what's going on with that site. I don't know what's happening. And there you are. So now, first of all, if we look in my project panel, you'll see that it's created subclips of all those little pieces. So it makes it very easy for me now to create my own selects. And down in the timeline, again, a little more manually, if I just use my shift arrow, I can very quickly go between all the different cutscenes. Anybody know what that creature is? I bet Esteban does. You've been there. You've seen it. You know what that is? All right. I think that's the one. Did you photograph one of those? I think you did. Yes, wildebeest. Very good reverb mic. Okay, so that is scene edit detection. And again, I love that you have the ability here to create these little sub clips. This is awesome because again, if I'm putting together a quick reel, and I can see how this one's a second and 39, whatever the duration is, media duration 139. Oh yeah, these are all kind of the same here. I think I did it on purpose like that. It just makes it really easy to assemble, a quick reel. Okay, correct or incorrect? Remixes should always be rendered and replaced before you can send them off as an AIF. The AIF inside Pro Tools doesn't seem to recognize. Yeah, that is correct. Right, so a remix, when it's in the timeline, it is quote unquote unrendered. It hasn't changed the audio file. So yes, so if you're going to send this off to someone to do further work in Pro Tools or elsewhere, you do want to actually just render the audio track of the remix so that it's just a new WAV file. So yes, that is absolutely 100% correct. Great question, because that happens a lot. People will do the remix and they assume that it's destructive. It's non-destructive. That's why you can continuously make changes. So excellent question. Thank you for bringing that to my my attention, Esteban. Oh, and I knew you photographed a wildebeest. See if you recall that one of your collections. So yeah, that's it. You absolutely want to render that if you're going out somewhere else, because otherwise it's just going to send the original WAV file without those cuts, because those cuts are non-destructive until you actually either render the full video with the audio or render out the audio itself as a new file. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. Okay. Yeah, this is one of the, I love this shot too. This was done with, again, my grading on this. This is old school, so I wasn't as, a little more adept at grading now, but, the eye, there's like a lot of really great detail in this eye. And this was not the final. We are very, very close to this rhino though. I love that shot. You can see all the flies and the eye. This eye up here is giving me the stink eye right there. Like that. Okay. The first cut is the reverb mic here. Always here. Try the veal. This is another favorite. I've shown this a million times, but this one, seeing this little baby elephant. Cute little baby elephant. Blowing stuff out of his trunk. So cute. Could kill you, but so cute. Africa is amazing. I agree. Yeah, I really. My mom recently did a safari for the first time. It was like a lifelong dream for her, and she got amazing photos. Funny thing is, I was there with Terry White, with Paul Tranny, tons of camera gear, lenses, all this stuff. She went with an iPhone 14, and her images are amazing. I'd put them up against mine, if I'm being honest. Okay, last thing I think we're gonna have time for here. So we didn't quite get to everything. Text-based editing, remix, auto duck, scene edit detection, clarity, auto reframe. So we'll skip auto reframe. Maybe I can do an auto reframe on this one too. I'll see. We'll try. And then auto color and color match. So two things regarding color. So let me go ahead and open up Lumitri. It could kill you, but so cute. Yes. Very good. All right. So auto color is something that we introduced last year. And this is much like the auto in Lightroom. It looks at, it goes out and learns from X number of, I don't know how many thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s of video of similar subject types and returns back how it thinks it should color. Now, in this particular shot, I could have found the raw ones. I did not. This has some basic grading on it, but a little dark, and contrast is maybe a little off. It's not quite as bright and vibrant as I would like. So by simply using auto here, and note this is not modified. So again, whatever color, this is an export. So I think this is this is a ProRes file here, so I've already done one pass on it, maintaining ProRes 422HQ. If I go ahead and click Auto here, it just immediately, again, you can see it did a little temperature adjustment, some tint, saturation, and then again, readjusted exposure, contrast, etc., etc. And all of that is editable. So the key is, there's a before. Again, it's nice, just kind of a little flat. After, just a little bit brighter, a little bit more vibrant. You know, as I've mentioned many times, if you like that kind of, again, sort of lower contrast film aesthetic, we can kind of brighten up those darker shadows by using a little bit of faded film. I don't recommend the sharpen. I might even expose just even a little bit more because it looks like our whites are okay. I don't think we're over bright. Good time to bring in the scopes. Yeah, I mean, again, you're seeing with the shadows here, and some of this was just the limitation of the time. I mean, of me filming, some stuff was, it just hit the floor there. So some of that shadow detail was just gone at the sensor. Can't really do much about that. But nothing overblown, no blown out highlights. So we've got a little room to work there. And then maybe we add even a little bit more sat, to that. Or what I would probably do, I wouldn't use shadow tint, highlight tint. I'd probably come into my curves here and pull out, again, maybe hue versus sat, pull out some of that yellow, which is from the sun, maybe just a little, or maybe increase a bit of the orange and increase a little bit of the blue. Maybe go for that teal orange look, the Transformers look. No. But you get the idea. So auto color, really super easy. This is another one here. Leopard at night. Let me just mute this. This one, we're in total darkness. The only light that you're seeing here, we're in a Jeep, total open Jeep in the dark, in the bush. There's this massive leopard in front of us, and massive. And the guy at the front of the Jeep has a spotlight. And we're maybe, Terry could confirm, maybe 20 feet away. I don't even think it was that far. Probably about 15 feet. There was a little bit of brush separating us, but not much. So there just wasn't a lot of, and it's wintertime. So you can see everything's dead. There's no green. It's all just barren brush and twigs and, so there's not a lot of contrast here, but the quick application of auto color, it just brings back some of the natural yellow. And as I've shown on stream many, many times, this, as I learned I had posted this to Behance years ago. I thought it was a cataract. It's a corneal injury. So a veterinary doctor reported and said, "Oh no, that's probably corneal injury from fighting." Pretty serious. So this was sort of really cool, and I've got some very cool direct head-on images of this leopard here. But I'm still amazed, looking back at, and this is all handheld. I didn't use monopod or anything, and I'm kind of amazed I got some of the clarity that I even did because, one, I was sort of freaked out. You see some of these creatures, you're like, what? This thing could really eat me, very, very quickly. Now again, here some of I'm a little over bright. I mean, not clipping technically. Shadows are actually okay, shockingly. You can see there's a lot of shadow detail in there. In fact, we can probably bring back more of that if we do faded film. Yeah, I mean, kind of amazing. In fact, that helps us even more. Is that the shadow detail is quite impressive, if I do say so myself. So that's all there. But that spotlight, just full on white light. I mean, we're on the edge. As you could see with the scopes, I didn't technically clip, but it's, we're pretty close. But here is our before. Here's our after. That's pretty nice. What do you think, Esteban? I mean, there's like nice contrast. And yes, I did just adjust the shadow tint a little bit, but not bad. Not bad. All right. Last thing, I'm just going to point this out. You're going to have to try it on your own. But it's cool. And that is the color wheels and color matching. And specifically, again, it's one click. And what it allows you to do In fact, here we could technically try this. I don't know how well this is going to work. These clips are very different. Well, let's see. So here on the left, I have my sort of reference. All right. And here on the right, I have what I want. I want to match this to that. So now I don't have faces. I guess technically I have animal faces, but I don't really. So I'm going to uncheck face detection here. And then I'm simply going to choose apply match. Now, I don't know how well this is going to do. We will see. It's not bad. It basically gave us a little bit more sort of shadow contrast. And if you look sort of, again, if you look at the light here and the color, the sort of the tone here and the tones here, they're more similar than they were. So here's the before. And I mean, in some ways, that almost looks a little better, to be honest. And the after. But point being, this is not a black box. It's fully editable. So you can modify those things. Let's see if we tried this dude. This will change everything here. So, oh, and we're out of time. All right, change it major. Anyway, that's all the time we have, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.